Hello, 7K team. Uh, some of the most important information I think I've ever brought to you at one particular point in time of where we're at. As you all know, over this last 3 years, we've gone through some major socioeconomic, political change in America, but not just in America, globally. Now, that's very important to us in 7K, because we have a mission. We're a force of good. We're reaching out and helping people preserve their wealth, protect their wealth, and accumulate wealth and increase their income. I mean, just think about what I just said. How significant is it? I mean, literally, we're a force for good, and we're only 7 years old. Uh, Yesterday, I celebrated my 77th birthday. Uh, Praise be the Lord. Uh, Gave me new life, cleared my arteries, uh, and expecting open heart surgery and hoping for the best of some stents and angioplasty. But God still performs miracles, and it happened to me Wednesday. Uh, Much to the astonishment of my cardiologist and everyone, they just couldn't explain it, and I did. I told them it was the miraculous healing and curing of our God and Savior and the miracle of Jesus Christ. Uh, I don't think it hit, uh, you know, the point. So he kept trying to find other excuses by, you know, he the all the for sure tests weren't so for sure. Well, anyway, uh, these changes over these past couple of years, I've given you many of you information about BRICS and about what other people are saying about the BRICS and gold-backed currencies and the death of the dollar. And if any of you review some of those old trainings or information, uh, those were information pieces. Uh, uh, I was right on all of them. I told you ahead of time. I told you way ahead of time what would happen, what wouldn't happen. And it's because the people I've been following for more than 2 decades, uh, some of the best in the world, so one of the greatest macroeconomists of our time, Jim Rickards, uh, and I've been following him for gee whiz almost 25 plus years. Porter Stansberry. There's many others that Ray Dalio, multi-billionaire. Uh, 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 yeah, and I've got a list that I just kind of go through. I read way too much that I should, but it's just part of my old habits of following global and macro economies, the banking system, the economic systems around the world, and of course our own here in the U.S. Uh, and I put together in one quick summary for you, and I just want to have not too many words here. I want to show you real quickly. I want to run through this. Uh, Pictures and graphs and charts speak tens of thousands of words, and then part two is really how it impacts what you can do about what when it's coming. Now I call it the great crash, the great 2024 crash. I've been leading up in parts and pieces over this last year, giving you information, but I've been able to collect it all in one spot so it's meaningful. You have been fed this, if you've seen it, just glimpses here and there, because not even some of our best conservative media hasn't really caught it yet. And it underlying tells the importance of why everyone should be a member of 7K. Everyone should be a member of 7K. And I think you'll agree with me after you see this information. So let's get right to it. Okay. Let me share my screen, get right to part one. The great 2024 crash. If you can't see this on your screen, please let me know. But it says federal debt. And in that one graph, you can see in the last 50 years, what's happened to our debt in America, our federal debt, okay? And this is what's extremely important, is knowing the difference between what I'm talking about. Now, in just the last 15 years, our federal debt's increased by 25 trillion. Now, this is very, very important, and you'll understand the magnitude of it when you see all the information put together and how it does. This is our national debt. And as you all know, we're now 2023, over $33 trillion in debt. Countries can't survive very much longer with that kind of debt. It's just like, a person, they live on credit, and then ultimately, the interest is more than your income, and you have bankruptcy. You can't even make minimum payments. You have foreclosures. You can't make the payments on your loans. Well, the same thing happens with governments, believe it or not, because if countries don't honor, don't look at your ability to meet the debt obligation you owe them, then of course they're not going to want to have anything to do with your currency. Kind of simply put, okay? But look at what has happened with our entitlement spending compared to our tax paid. Now, this is very important, everyone. This is our taxes collected, $2.7 trillion. But look at our spending. We've got almost $4 trillion in debt obligations, entitlement, and this is increasing by multiple factors now, not just twofold, threefold, fourfold. I mean, we've got 20 million new immigrants, illegal immigrants, into America over this last almost 4-year period, 3 years. We can't sustain this. And to boot, we're paying almost, well, this is a little outdated. And if you'll notice, I leave the sources on everything. This is all government data. This is all FDIC insurance data. This is all collected. This is all public information. And everyone can get it, but no one's putting it together in one picture like I'm doing for you today. And we're paying almost $1 trillion in interest on our federal debt. That is unsustainable. With interest rates going up, that is going to go up. We are projected to pay more in interest than we collect in taxes. So what's got to happen? Either taxes has got to go way up, or we have to declare bankruptcy. In essence, kind of simple terms, but it doesn't quite happen that way. We'll talk about that in part 2. But this is the other major factor that's making this situation even worse is because on goods and services and investments around the world, countries around the world are placing more and more restrictions and imposing more and more restrictions and tariffs on U.S. goods and services. Just look at 2022 compared to 2018, 2017. Look at this. Almost quadrupled. That means our stuff can't go to them. This is a big macro picture, and I want you to understand it, but I think everyone will understand this personal savings and credit card debt. Now, this is your and mine, your neighbors, our friends, our relatives. This is personal in America. Just look at what has happened in the last 7 years in terms of our personal savings. We're at one of the lowest personal savings that we've had in America since some of the worst times, economic times in America. But more importantly, not just the depletion of personal savings, everybody's savings. Look at what has happened to credit card debt. You know, you get to a point that you can't live on credit anymore. And then what happens? Foreclosure, bankruptcy, personal foreclosure, personal bank, people losing their homes, people losing everything they have, people losing their cars. This is the preface of the great 2024 crash. And that's why I call it the great 24 crash. Now, we're all cognizant of some of the recent bank failures in America this year, and just these three alone, which we all know about, were greater than the 25 that crumbled our banking system in 2008 and put our whole economy on that precipice of failure. Well, this is just the beginning. We've already had several bank failures since these three, and one more recently that I'm aware of, and I just really haven't seen it reported except locally in Iowa, where a state bank overnight shut its doors, and that state bank does not have FDIC insurance. So the depositors have lost everything they had, everything that was deposited in their checking accounts, their savings accounts. It's all gone. They're not to get a penny of it. And this is not going to get better, ladies and gentlemen, because of this situation right here. The change in bank deposits. Look at where we're at since 2021 to 2023. We're in a negative bank deposit situation. So hopefully nobody runs to their banks and try to pull everything out because it's just not there. They call it a run on the bank. If that would occur in America, this 2024 crash would come a whole heck of a lot faster. That's why everything's by digital. Everything's by the Fed now with the digital credits is the only thing that's keeping banks alive at 12 midnight every night, be able to just teeter them over the balance of their assets and liabilities. But you'll see that more clearly in a minute. You don't have to, I don't want to use my words. And again, this is FDIC data. Why do they keep this data? Because They're the ones that's supposed to insure all of our deposits. But, if all of them go bankrupt, do you think we're going to get anything out of the FDIC? Come on. Where's it going to come from? The FDIC doesn't have it. The government doesn't have it. I just showed you the debt, the federal debt. So where's it going to come? A magic dust falling out of the sky? No, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the problem of those bank failures. It's called unrealized losses on investment security. See, the banks take our deposit and they invest them to make money off of our money. They don't pay us a lot of interest, but they take it and they invest in security. Well, these securities, with interest rates rising, they bought securities with low interest rate, kind of like bonds work. And so when interest rates goes up, the value of that security goes down. So if they bought it as $1,000 and it pays 3%, well, when interest rates are like now 8%, well, that bond or that security is only maybe worth $700. So their asset base has decreased. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. And so if they sell that, they're going to take that loss. So they hold it, hoping that interest rates will come back down and their securities will revalue in the long term. Well, you can only do that for so long before especially if you're depleting deposits. Deposits are depleting. You don't have people depositing because there's no economy to deposit. So I'm trying to make it as clear as water without being complex. This is U.S. office vacancies. And we don't have 20 that, this is an ongoing information. And this shows what is happening in commercial properties around the country. We're at one of the highest rates right now of commercial office vacancies than we've had since after the Great Depression. Significant information when you look all at one time. Now look at what's happening in commercial real estate values. They have dropped more than 50% already this year. Already. This is forecasted to bottom out. So don't go rushing to buy what you think is good commercial property at great prices. Get the whole picture before you do this. Who's holding the loans on those commercial properties? You got it. Banks. And we have nearly 700 banks where their commercial real estate loan concentration exceeds the FDIC and any investment guidance advice, meaning they're too heavily concentrated in these commercial loans. And that's where a lot of their securities are at, in these commercial, long-term commercial loan mortgages. So what happens when foreclosures happen on these commercial properties? Who can pay the bank back the loan? So what do you think will happen to these almost 700 banks? Yes, it will be worse than our 2008 calamity. When is it going to come? I call it the Great 2024 crash. I've been giving signals of this all along, giving the tidbits of information. But now when you put it all together in one place, one picture, and so Do you think there's a rising demand for these commercial loans to buy these depressed property prices in commercial properties? No, that commercial demand for loans has already hit below 2008 levels. Okay. And it's going to go further down the hole because there isn't going to be a demand for it. Everybody's going to, real wealthy, super wealthy investors, they're going to wait till it completely bottoms out. And many of them won't need loans unless they're extremely attractive for them. This is a sad but true story. Productivity in America has constantly been increasing and on the rise, meaning we produce more with less effort, assets, and time. But Americans are making much less. Look how from the 50s through the 80s, that track productivity and wages. This will cause and is causing a major sociological, political impact. And just look at history. When this gets too wide, what happens? And this is being reported more and more every single day now. But just in a glimpse, just in a glance, because Bloomberg adequately stated it, and it was, I mean, I'll tell you, this wasn't plastered over every of the media. It got its report in the financial sector, and that was it. Americans outside of the wealthiest 20% of the country have run out of extra savings. That's what we just talked about. Showed you the graph of the personal savings. And now have less cash on hand than they did when the pandemic began. Now, that is the Federal Reserve reporting that, where I get this data from. All this data that I've been giving you. Now, look what is happening to job opening. And remember, we have 20 million over the last 3+ years, new illegal immigrants in America. And look what is happening to our jobs in America. Collapsing at an extremely rapid rate. Why do I put Dollar General on here? Well, Dollar General is an extremely well-run company, management-wise, and you can look at its history. You can look at every analyst that looks at Dollar General, its stock and thing. But look just this year, 2023. See, there are so many indicators of what's happening. I've shown you a lot, but this is one of the major ones, because who shops at Dollar General? The general populace. They go there and buy a couple of rolls of toilet paper. They go buy some toothpaste. They buy little necessaries that they need. They don't have enough to buy in big quantities or larger quantities. It is 58% down. Now, why is that 58% down, that stock? Not because of bad management, not because of inefficiencies. Like I said, it's one of the best run companies around. And every analyst will tell you it's because of lack of sales. People can't even afford their basic necessities sometimes, their deodorant, that toothpaste, that roll of toilet paper. This also kind of tells some really big stories about you, consumer, US, us, me, our neighbor, our friends, our relatives. We're at an all-time high in America. Never have we seen this type of consumer debt. This is home mortgages, the big blue thing here. This is this little light blue. This is people getting home equity lines of credit, getting more loans on what they already own in their home. This is auto loans. This is student loans. But look, we are more than 17 trillion in consumer debt, and it's going up. It can't go too much further. Now, those of you said, well, I've got my house paid off for, I've got net worth, but look what is happening in the residential real estate market right now, too. So it's not just commercial, it's residential. Median home prices are collapsing more rapidly than did since the old flat 70s. And also 2008. So you're looking at two of our biggest slumps ever in America, and the old 1990. We're already past the old 1990s, early 90s. Wow. Tells pictures, everyone. Pictures tell 1,000 words, more than what I can explain. But I am, and neither are any of you, investment or legal or tax advisors. We just present information. This information is very important. It's very important for you to understand why you're a member of 7K. You've learned about gold and silver. We're trying to get people to learn. I call it understand the mission of our founders. This is the thing that has always excited me more than anything, is the mission of 7K. And I always encourage everybody, get it, have it with you, make sure you share it with your prospective members. And this is the founders' mission. We created 7K because we genuinely want to improve the lives of people around the world. And that's what you and I want to do. That's what you're doing when you reach out to someone and share 7K with them. And follow up and follow up and follow up. Learn how to follow up. Be persistent without being a pest. We have watched way too many of our friends struggle as the economy fluctuates. Employment issues arise, or unexpected changes come up in life. Using the power of gold and silver, we believe we can provide a way for people to create financial independence, preserve their wealth, and live an exceptional life. We started this company because we believe in you. That has motivated me more than anything else, because I've been in gold and silver, as you know, over 35 years plus. And there's no better hedge. You don't have to take it from me. Just listen to everyone out there. Time proven history. Hedge against inflation than gold and silver. It's a time proven fact. And all we have to do is get enough information to make informed business decisions. And our current wealth strategies video tells the story better than it's ever told. And so our job is to share, 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 share. Follow up, follow up, follow up. If you believe, and you truly believe, then people will also understand that you truly believe. I'm going to try and get this moved into the second part of this, in fact, you know what I'm gonna just make one complete recording of it. We didn't take that long in going through that first section. So let me just move in, have part one and part two all together. I maybe can split it later, but let's see if we can't get there. And let me pull this up. I may have to stop sharing and pull it back up again. In fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop sharing just to make sure that I'm sharing my screen properly. Now, I'm tagging this and saying this is 2024 inflation. Inflation of 2024. I've just given you some really significant information, but I've been sharing with you over this past year about, about 190, 180 banks are right on their prefaces every night at midnight. Well, it's not just me. You just need to go out and look at all the information. Now, I can't tell you to go take your money out of the bank, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you, just be aware of information so you can make your own decisions of what you need to do. Okay. But what I can share with you is what different analysts that I follow, that I will look at, what they say. Okay. And this is Market Watch's opinion, as most U.S. banks are technically near insolvency and hundreds are already fully insolvent. Now, I believe that's a true statement. Okay. I gave you another graph previously in part one, but this is from another sector. And, this is just another graph of saying some of the same thing, but they just look at the top 1% earners in America. And what you can see is what's happening compared to the bottom 90% of earners. Their increase in wages, even their productivity is up, has an increase. But look at the top 1% earners in America since 1980 to almost 20. They don't have all the figures here, but the data lags a little bit, especially here because you have to do IRS statistics in this. So you only go to a little past up to 2020, almost 2020. But it says the same story. And this just can't keep happening. There's an inequality here, a great inequality. And again, this is some from Porter Stansberry and Jim Rickards. And I kind of left some of the statements in my report that I got. But, when you adjust for inflation, blue collar wages are actually 15% lower than they were in 1980. 57% of Americans today can't afford a $1,000 emergency expense. Just think about this. A look at why Americans are saving less and how you can boost your emergency fund. Everyone needs to have an emergency fund. Well, let's look at a little bit more. Now, I pulled this off Newsmax. I flopped it up there on the screen, and I took a quick. As you see, I have to have the closed captions on, but that's the only time I saw that. I told my wife Pamela, I said, why don't they tell things like this more? Why don't they repeat it more? Why don't they just have some repeat? Why don't other people report on this stuff? But Combined median payments for a home and car jumped 78% since 2021. Can Americans afford that? Did their wages increase that much? So what is it? Credit. See, they don't tell you that part. Now, this is, of course, look at the source, Fred. Yeah, and those of you that follow me, I've already, what Fred is and where the data that we get. But the Federal Reserve Economic uh, Development uh, uh, Department, Federal Reserve Economic Department. And here, it's not just America, it's global. So this is very important to understand this from the Financial Times. This is global. This is 2023. Look, the U.S. is in the red here. Okay, so we're the red line, and look at us. Okay, it looks like inflation's coming down, right? Looks like inflation's coming down. Looks like inflation's coming down. Looks like inflation's coming down. Beware artificial numbers. It's not coming down. You and I both know that. Look at the data I gave you in part one. It's not coming down. That's all artificial right now. But look at the level where it's at. Anyway, this is global. So it's not just US experiencing these inflation. It's every major Western country. And even the liberal New York Post, and at least in one statement, very subtly gave credit to where credit was due. Biden and Democrats have given America the worst inflation in 40 years. Wow. Even ABC News, very liberal, left-leaning propaganda news. Sky-high inflation is evaporating American savings. You right. And where does the inflation come from? Inflation keeps getting worse and warns it's a mounting trouble. Political. I'm not even giving you conservative reports. Many predict that what's coming will be worse than the inflation of the 70s. I've been telling you that for 2 years now. That inflation is costing the average American an extra $11,500 every year and rising, because if I'm right, America is facing an inflation disaster unlike anything we've ever seen before. To put that into perspective for you, at the beginning of 2020, the money supply stood about $4 trillion. By January of 2021, it climbed to nearly $7 trillion. You don't need a degree in economics or an MBA to know that this is bad news. In all of history, not a single country has ever inflated their currency by over 80% in 2 years without experiencing epic price rises afterwards. We have not stopped these price rises. You and I have all been feeling it. We've seen prices increase at the grocery stores, at every merchant retailer. We've seen quantities shrink. That's another way to raise prices. We've seen what we used to get at a quart of something for X dollars now is maybe 3/4 of a quart and a higher price. So you got a double price increase there. You just don't know it. It don't go as far when you eat it. Okay. Now, Jim Rickards, Porter Stansberry, and many of the people I follow, says inflation could more than double from where it is today over 20% at a bare minimum. That's their projections. I'm just saying what they're saying. We're talking about inflation. I'm not talking about the price of gold or silver or anything else. I'm talking about economics. We have to understand to prepare. America's worst inflation nightmare is coming true. And we're on the precipice of it. And 2024, we're going to see it like we're going to see in epic proportions in 2024. Unfortunately. And now with inflation already at its highest level in more than 46 years, and the government is 100% powerless to stop this growing threat. They can't. The only thing you can do is have a currency reset. Will that happen? Don't know. Will bankruptcy occur? That can happen. And by some estimates, it's as high as 16.5% right now. Corrected inflation. Not this stupid government number they give us, massaged, manipulated. You and I feel it at the gas pump, at the grocery stores, and so do our neighbors, so do our friends. Their check doesn't go as far as it did last year or last month. And every week it's changing. We are just days away, some people say, but I don't. But they want everybody to be prepared because we never know what could happen. I mean, banks could start falling like dominoes tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen, but I have no guarantee. Neither do they. But I do say, along with many of them, that 2024 is our days away. We're headed toward the worst inflation shock in more than 50 years. Really, we're going to see over 20%. I've seen it before in the 80s. Okay. Many of us have. We know what that's like. And, many of the wealthy, many of the banks, many of the, they're just trying to get out of their increasingly worthless dollars into real tangible assets. Now, like real estate, but many of us can't afford real estate. But look at the key words here. Tangible assets. Tangible assets. Hey, is gold and silver a tangible asset? Huh. Might be a good thing to learn about. Now, I love this one chart. This tells it all. One picture. 1970. The average home cost $15,000. Today, that same home costs 20 times more on average, $436,000. Rent was an average of $108 a month. 19 times more in 2023. 2,000 US dollars. College. Hey, I graduated and got my MBA in 1971. That's when I graduated with it. I started school in 64 in college. Yeah, that's really what it cost. And that was a lot of money to me. I had to get loans. I had to work a job. But look, average is $11,000 tuition. go to school? Gotta be kidding me. Yeah, I know. I help my son go to school. Look at gas. This is the key. I love it. Man, I even remember when it was 16 cents a gallon. Gas, 36 cents a gallon in 1970 on average. Today, $3.93 a gallon. Income, $9,000 a year was great income. Average median in America. Today, that is $56,000. Can we live off of that? Look at the proportion. We've only increased income 6 times. Look at what a home's increased. Look at what rents increased. Look at what gas has increased. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what the numbers are saying? Not what Bob Reid said. What the numbers say? Numbers never lie. Numbers never lie. That's why I believe in numbers. Everyone knows that one of the best ways to protect yourself from inflation is what? Gold. God's money. Gold. Yes, that's right. And that's what we're teaching people in 7K. We're teaching them how to preserve their wealth, how to protect their wealth. We're teaching them about gold and silver, what they've never been taught before in their lives, not taught in the education system. But let's look at facts. Look at this year, 2022, all last year. No, not this year, but all last year. We'll have 23. 2023 is going to be the same story, by the way. Look at every asset class. Now, this gold one at the top, that's gold. Well, this is Bitcoin. Those of you who believe in that magic crypto stuff, I don't. And this is the NASDAQ. This is the Dow Jones. I mean, look, every asset class, gold outperformed all of them. So what should we have a little of? I think we should have a little. And sound money, a membership in 7K gives them access to sound money. They could buy $1 a day. They can buy $10 a week. We make it affordable to the average guy and gal for the first time in history. We've got the good news to share. We just need to share it more often, more frequently. And I'm giving you some information all in one little tidbit. Information, food for thought. This is no fear. This is just facts presented by the government. All available. Every bit of it can be substantiated and found. If I can find it, you can. They can. This is the history of gold. Now, this is from 1970 to 1980. These are some of the things, by the way, that more than 35 years ago, that moved me out of just investing into stocks, bonds, real estate, businesses, all that kind of, to make sure I had some gold and silver in my hand. Facts like this are just pure, unadulterated facts. That's a historic 10-year period. But let's look at the early 2000s. Wow. Now I'm pulling together the rest of the figures from 2008 to our current year. Okay. So here's the biggest thing. The world's biggest investors, richer and more powerful than all the billionaires combined, are stacking what in their vaults? By the pallets. Gold. Why are they doing that? We've been talking about that on my information sharing about BRICS and banks and governments around the world. Who is holding all the gold around the world? Countries and banks. Yeah, you know who they are. But the other thing is, this is something, because silver is a commodity that's used for many other uses, and that's really a good thing for those of you that understand silver. But here's something that's totally out of whack today, and it's just worth knowing, is that it takes about 85 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. That's out of whack, because historically that's been 47-1. Okay. So I, things may change. Especially since silver is used, I got a lot of other uses besides just sitting there as a uh, 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 asset of wealth. Okay, like the primary purpose of gold. Okay, so who is doing all of this buying of gold? Well, you and I both know, and I've reported, and I've given you the even numbers in past presentation. Central banks, they've been binging on it, okay? And it's not me just saying it. There's Wall Street Journal, central banks, gold demand hits record levels. Yep. So we're a force of good in 7K. We're helping people understand gold and silver. We're providing them a medium in which they can accumulate and learn about gold and silver. They can protect their wealth that they do have. They can preserve it, and they can actually build upon it. And we have both bullion and collectibles. So we have a diversification aspect to 7K, and they can help us spread the word, because we have a referral based compensation plan if they would like. And why not share the best opportunity in the world with people? We're a very, very young company, 7 years. We've got a great infrastructure. We're poised to become one of the largest, greatest gold and silver companies in history. Why wait till we're a multi-billion-dollar company to join? Why not become part of the pioneering effort to be a force of good around the world, helping people help people? There is no better, there's no better thing to do than to help people help people. I love each and every one of you. I hope this is beneficial to you. I hope you see what I see. I hope you understand how it can help you in your 7K business. And uh, uh, I believe that it would be extremely beneficial for us for the whole next year until we fall off that cliff. And then everyone that you've kind of shared this with, shown this to, as you talk about 7K, as you give them information, on what you do, as you challenge them to go and find evidence contrary to this, because it's going to be hard to do, because this is all available public. What I gave you here today, every bit of these graphs, every bit of these charts, all come mainly from government sources or highly reputable investment advisors that are cautioning about the economy and challenging the government to start heading this off. The challenge is becoming greater and greater every day. We're getting, like I said, to the point of no return. Many analysts believe we're already past the point of no return. We can't turn it around. Me, I kind of have a little eternal optimism. If we don't fall off the cliff, I think we could bottom out, and it'd take us a while to get correct. But those of us that are in 7K will benefit no matter what. People are going to need an income source. When all these jobs go away, people are going to need an income source. what better way than accumulate wealth and earn extra income by sharing our message with others? I hope you see what I see. I hope this has been beneficial to you. And I look forward to our next year in actually bringing a whole new wave of momentum, a whole new wave of new members of 7K into your teams and our teams and the company's team. May we all be blessed by our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you for your time and attention. Love every one of you. If I can stop this recording.